Well, hello there, everybody. How you doing, huh? How you doing today on this beautiful autumn day here in New England? Yeah, I don't know what the weather is like where you're at, but today, oh man, it's one of those days. It's like if I could have dialed a day in, customized to myself, this would be the day. It's windy, it's sunny, it's a little bit chilly outside. The leaves are blowing around. I mean, it's gorgeous, just perfect day. And I'm sitting here in my studio early in the day. And, I was listening to this show or watching this show, however you want to put it, because most of the time, I'll be listening to something, even on YouTube or something, I'll be listening to it rather than watching it, kind of like talk radio. So anyway, I'm sitting in my studio yesterday. And you know how when you're on YouTube and you're watching videos, it'll like automatically roll into another video. Like if you don't choose something, it'll choose for you. Just by happenstance, I kind of stumbled across this video series on YouTube. This show, it was like an architectural show. And basically what it is like a new version of Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, where they take you on a tour of celebrities' homes and they, talk about the specific details that they had built into their homes. And, it's like, basically just bragging about how great they have it, and they do have it great. I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, some of these celebrities that they had on there, I mean, they have like $16 million homes, and it was just, video after video of these houses that are just out of control. It is so gorgeous and so expensive and so over the top, and so much so that eventually I stopped what I was doing and I started to actually watch, what these videos were showing. And it was just, oh my gosh, it just got me to thinking about, well, naturally, right? Those shows do get you to think about your life, right? And, I guess the first thought that came to my mind was like, first of all, if I had $16 million, okay, which will never happen, but if I did, I wouldn't buy like the stuff that they bought. My tastes are so, I don't know. I wouldn't even say my tastes are normal. It's just like, man, I don't even know a person. I have never known a person that could afford a $16 million home. I mean, I've never known anyone who could, so I can't even relate to that. But if I did have that kind of money, there is no way, I would buy I don't know. I wouldn't buy like a building and have it moved to where I want it to be. I just wouldn't do that. I wouldn't import marble from Italy for my kitchen. I just don't come from, $16 million people. Like that's not where I'm from. Now, having said that, I can't, say exactly what I would spend my money on, but it's like, it got me thinking about that. And it also got me thinking about this question of like, obviously these people who live in these, $16 million homes, sometimes $30 million homes, they've done something, achieved something or done something that warrants that kind of income, right? And kudos to them, good for them that they were able to do that. But most of the people in the world don't ever do that. And certainly nobody that I know. So I was asking myself this question, like, well, one, what do you have to do to make that kind of money in this world? Really, what kind of sacrifices do you have to make, and what kind of compromises do they have to make in order to have that kind of lifestyle? And I don't know. I mean, I'm not here to judge anybody, but, I can't even fathom what it would be like to make that kind of money. And, is it more important to make a lot of money or to enjoy what you're doing with your time every day? Like, that's a pretty big question. Like, if you had to choose, would you rather be a multimillionaire and hate your work, like hate what you do to make that money, or would you rather make a modest amount of money but wake up every single day, anxious to get to work, like you just can't wait to get to work? And I guess it's not really that big of a deal, but it kind of is, in the sense that, how we spend our time, what we spend our life doing, should bring us joy. And having a lot of money, I guess, and I mean a lot of money, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be happier. Now, I suppose there are those people who love their work and they make millions of dollars, and that's pretty damn cool. If you can achieve that in a lifetime, man, that's amazing. It really is. Unfortunately for me, it's not happened yet. And it probably never will. Like, I can't imagine myself coming up with something that's worth, $16 million. But yeah, you never know. I won't count myself out yet, but it doesn't stop me from trying, right? I do live in America. I'm an American, and I'm a capitalist. I see the value in that, and the idea of striving for more and trying to achieve as much as you can, trying to make as much money as you can, and all those things. But for a guy like me, I've kind of had to just kind of resign myself to the notion that, this is going to be a lifetime of doing what I love to do. And really, at the end of the day, getting everything I really wished for when I was a young person starting out. I have achieved that. I can say that. I have an international audience. I make music every day, all day, and stuff like that. I just don't make a lot of money. So, okay, the glass is half full. It's a pretty good life, but, I guess what I'm talking about here is like asking not just myself, but asking you, my audience, the listeners, asking you that question. Like, what do you do all day? Like, with your time? How do you spend your time? And does your life and what you spend your time doing, does it bring you joy? I mean, are you happy with your work? Do you love the work you do? Man, I wish I could hear your answers, because there's so many different people, different types of people that are listening to this podcast right now, all over the world, really. And everybody's different, and everybody has different goals and different standards. So, I would love to know, does your work, your job, the thing you're doing probably right now as you're listening to this podcast, does it bring you joy and happiness in your life? And does it pay you well? And do you feel that you're paid fairly for what you do, what you provide to the world? Pretty good question, isn't it? Yeah. It was just, in watching these people, and just how over the top it was. Just, oh my gosh, like I can't even imagine what my life might be like if I had $16 million to spend on a house. I mean, how much house do you need? I know that I don't really need that much. I don't. In fact, I would say probably right now, I think anyway, I live in probably the biggest house I've ever lived in right now. Probably the nicest house too, really. But it's too much house. sometimes. It's a lot of space and a lot of cleaning, and a lot of just more room, I guess, to put your stuff, and I'm in the process, at least for the past couple of years, of really trying to reduce the amount of stuff that I accumulate. It's very difficult, because it's easy to get, more stuff, to see something you want, you get it. But I'm really trying to curb that as much as I can. So this show just kind of sent my mind reeling that I was listening to on YouTube. Just like I said, story after story of these people. Their houses are enormous. And it's like, these houses are finished with, materials and stuff that you don't get at Home Depot. You don't buy this kind of stuff at Lowe's. I mean, it's like, specially ordered doorknobs, from France that are, $4,000 a piece. And how many doors are in this mansion? It's just crazy to me. And the cars too, oh my gosh, can you imagine how many Lamborghinis and Teslas and Rolls Royces and Bentleys do you need to feel fulfilled? I mean, they're cars, it's a car, it's a vehicle to travel in. I don't know, maybe I'm just out of touch, or I'm just too white trash, to get my mind around it. But you know what, if that's the case, I'm fine with that. Anyway, so another thing I wanted to talk about today is the drummer from Metallica, Lars Ulrich. I hope at this point you've heard of Metallica. I hope at this point you might know who I'm talking about. This drummer who's been doing this music for 30 plus years. And while that may not sound like a big deal to most people, okay, let me explain my point of view to you about this particular guy and what he does, and being a drummer, what that means, because a lot of people don't really understand the physicality of drumming. Okay, it's not like playing a guitar or being a singer or playing a piano, although those have their own picadillos. Being a drummer is a very physical activity. Okay, you're moving your body, for a long period of time, usually, especially if you play live, where you're doing song after song in front of an audience day in and day out or whatever. It's physically taxing, and a lot of drummers, especially if they play past a certain age, they start to suffer serious health issues like, torn rotator cuffs in their shoulders, and, tennis elbow, carpal tunnel syndrome, damage to their bones and their joints, and arthritis in their fingers from, this process of hitting. And every time you are hitting, you're impacting your body. And fortunately for me, even though it wasn't really something that I had planned on or I hadn't thought about, I stopped playing drums live a long time ago. So in a way, I felt bad because I was not going to be playing live anymore. I didn't really have the desire to do that anymore. But now, in hindsight, and this is 20 years later, okay, so far I haven't suffered any kind of pain or any problems with my joints or my fingers or my shoulders or anything, my back. A lot of drummers have back problems from bad posture, and this is serious stuff that can catch up to you, as you get older, and it hurts. This stuff can really hurt. And fortunately for me, I kind of bypassed that, And I didn't even realize I was doing that, but that is what happened. So anyway, I'm watching this interview with Lars Ulrich, the drummer from Metallica, and he's kind of talking about this very thing that I'm talking about, these issues with his joints and his bones and his arms and just his physical being suffering, and he has to take with him on tour now a physical therapist and a masseuse, people to kind of keep his body as pain-free as possible. And I just thought to myself, it's absolutely amazing, really, to me, okay, knowing what it takes to be a Lars Ulrich behind a drum set, because their music is extremely heavy and fast, and he's an older fella now. He's in his 60s, I think, 50s or 60s. I mean, he's an older fella, and oh my gosh, he does this still night after night, and I don't know, I guess I think he should get a little more credit for that. A lot of the drummers I know admire him, and they would say the same thing I'm saying, like, I can't believe he's still doing it. As much as he is, and as hard as he is, and as well as he is, he's still a fantastic drummer. He's creative, he's intelligent, he's savvy, he's got all of it, and certainly at this point they could probably stop playing and live just fine on the money that they've made or whatever. So I guess that's another facet of this too, is that it's kind of cool in a way that he still wants to do it. It doesn't matter how much money he's made. It doesn't matter how old he is. It doesn't matter how much pain he may or may not be in. He still feels compelled to do this and to be creative in with this massive machine called Metallica that he's a part of, right? I don't know. It's not lost on me. And I guess I figured it was worth talking about a little bit, Like, there will be no retirement for these guys, for those type of guys. Like, man, I hope that I'm like that, I hope that I'm like that. Like, this thing I've chosen to do, this music thing, and even the podcasting and all that, all of it. Painting, all of it. I hope that when I'm like 60 or 70, if I live that long, God willing, that I'll still want to do it. Like, I'll really, really want to spend my time, even though I'm old, even though I'm tired, even though whatever, I'll still spend my time, or opt to spend my time, creating new music. I don't see an end in sight for me, personally. I don't see there ever being a time where it's like, oh, my fingers hurt too bad, because, the way that I do things in my studio and stuff, it's pretty low impact, especially playing the drums. It's one thing to be playing night after night, 2-hour set of 5-minute songs. Each song is 5 minutes long, so do the math. That's a lot of music and a lot of sweat and a lot of aggression and a lot of energy that's expelled. I don't have that in my life. If I need a drum track, if I want to play my drums, it's usually for a shorter period of time. Or, if I want to practice or something just to keep my chops, But, if I get tired, I can stop. Or if I don't want to do it anymore and I want to do something else, I can stop. But I couldn't imagine being the age I am and touring, never really sleeping in my own bed, and, playing just night after night. Like, you would think anyway, at least I would think that, after like 20 years of that or 30 years of that, I'd be like, my arms are going to fall off, I can't do it anymore. So I guess I can be thankful, that not only do I love to do what I do, but I also don't have to do a lot of things that I don't want to do. You know what I mean? I have control over my time and my schedule. And that has its ups and downs, but ultimately it brings me to that question: is what I'm doing with my time making me happy? And the answer is yes, it does. I think, it would be nice if the money was better, okay? Because you could always use more money. It doesn't really matter. Like, you could always use more money. But there's also some merit in the idea of being happy with what you have. And I guess at the same time, being happy with what you don't have. It's kind of a interesting thing to think about, though, especially if you take your life seriously, because not everybody does. There's a lot of people who I think just kind of are floating through life. They just are, they're hanging on, and maybe a lot of the time folks get stuck in a job that sucks, and they have to kind of just do it because they need the money, and if that's the case for anybody listening to this podcast, I want you to know something. All right, my hat goes off to you, because it takes a lot of will and a lot of sacrifice for yourself, to do that kind of thing, to do a job you don't really like. You just do it anyway. And you know what? Like, try to do it well. Even though you don't like it, even though it's whatever, maybe it doesn't pay so great, whatever, which would be horrible, I guess, if you had a job you didn't like and it didn't pay well. But you still try anyway. You still do things with love. You put love into your work, even though you may not like it. My hat goes off to you. Kudos to you. I commend you for being that kind of person, because in the modern world, that's a pretty admirable thing, So, yeah. Do you agree? I hope you agree. Hope I don't sound too kooky. But you know what? I don't really care. If I sound kooky, sorry. But, I think about stuff like that. Are you happy with the life you have? Am I happy? Yes. Yes. Thank God I can say yes. It's not always great. It's not always roses. There's a lot of sacrifice and a lot of hard work. And, I guess, judging by some of the comments that I've been getting from people, I get this kind of message, I guess, from my fans, if you want to call them fans, that, they say things to me like, oh, you deserve more recognition than you get, and you should be much bigger than you are. And, there's like a whole host of things like that people say. And, I don't really know how to feel about that, I don't know. I guess it's like I'm not really the kind of person who's really striving for fame or anything like that. That's never really been important to me. Although it is nice to have people recognize what you're doing and enjoy what you're doing. That's really the point, of doing any of this kind of stuff anyway, is, putting something out there and having people get something from it, and there's also kind of like, I guess, the idea of trying to top myself, always trying to get better, always trying to get better, no matter what it is I'm doing, trying to make the next thing a little bit better. Sometimes it's hit or miss, and sometimes I hit, sometimes I miss, but, just that that process is something I enjoy, that kind of growth is something that I kind of like enjoy, do you enjoy that with what you do, with your work? Do you enjoy that kind of thing, like getting better at it? Do you have the kind of job that you can get better at? Big questions for a weary world. Big questions, man. But think about that stuff, Ask yourself that question. Are you happy with what you do? Recently I was asked by this singer from India, actually, a singer-songwriter from India who produces her own music and everything, and she's kind of, pretty much doing the same thing I am. She's just kind of, she just kind of keeps on trucking, like writing the song, producing it, recording it, making the video, really kind of pushing. And she does play live and everything. And she recently contacted me through another friend of mine who's a film producer, or a film director, I'm sorry. And she was kind of talking to me about the idea of collaborating on some music together. And this woman from India, I gotta tell you, her voice, okay, is so amazing. I can't believe that in my lifetime, as a musician, I have met someone like her who can sing as well as she can. And she's absolutely gorgeous too, She's got like the whole package, man, Like for me, okay, I see that as like an asset, like a plus, because, I don't have any illusions about like my physical appearance, and you may or may not realize it, but, I have to try like really hard to look okay on camera, and my voice like is not amazingly fantastic. I'm not a trained singer, I'm a stylist. I sing the way that I can. I do the best with what I have. And to talk to someone and to meet someone who is, like such a great singer and has the looks, the physical beauty to go with that voice. I mean, it's like the sky is the limit, man, for somebody like that. Like in my book, okay? And, I've watched a few of her videos, and actually my wife and I were watching them together, and I'm like, honey, you gotta hear this lady's voice. You gotta hear her voice. And as soon as this video starts, my wife's like, oh my gosh, she's like gorgeous. I'm like, I know, she's so pretty, but what's funny is, and this is why I'm bringing it up, is like recently, this new friend of mine from India, had posted something on her social media about how she doesn't like it when people notice her looks first as opposed to her talent. Like she's offended by that, Well, of course, like immediately I like contacted her, like I hope that I've never offended you that way. Like I hope I never have, because I've told her she's gorgeous. I mean, she is. But we're in a business, Like, yes, it's an art form, and yes, it's about creativity and all those things, but let's face it, okay? We live in a material world, right? And, you could have somebody who has like the most talent, whatever, but if they don't have the whole package, it's an uphill climb, man, So like when I'm talking to her about like her talent or her looks or anything like that, it's not like on a social level, okay? It's more like it's a business, you know, and you have tools that I will never have. Like, good for you. I, have no doubt in my mind that she's going to go far. Okay, if she doesn't, then there's no justice in the world. But also, too, I'm pretty sure that her and I are going to eventually collaborate on some music, probably for a film, probably for that friend of ours, that mutual friend that has hooked us up. And he's an award-winning film director, too, by the way. He's a pretty serious dude. But anyway, my point is that I guess what I was thinking about and why I'm bringing it up is like, I can't imagine people saying to me, okay, or I can't imagine me having a problem with someone complimenting my looks and then complimenting my music, like, I don't think I'll ever have that problem, and I laugh about it because it's like, is it actually a problem, and okay, I won't diminish the seriousness of what she was saying in her statements and stuff, but it's like, I can't imagine having that problem. I'm no belle of the ball, man. I mean, when I make a video or something, or even when I'm singing or playing any of the instruments, even, or whatever, it's like I do the best with what I've been given, and I wish I had the looks of Dave Navarro, from Jane's Addiction. I wish I had his hair, I wish I had his build, I wish I had the voice of Wayne Hussey from the Mission UK. I don't, though. I don't have any of that stuff. I don't have the hair. I don't have the looks. I don't have the voice, Although I will say, in defense of myself, that I think I do okay with what I've been given, but I have to laugh a little bit when I hear somebody saying, like, man, I'm tired of people telling me how pretty I am. It's like, I wish I had that problem. That'll never happen, man. Not to me. No, sir. Well, that's okay, right? It's not about how I look, Well, I guess it is kind of, but I'll just try to convince myself that it's not about how I look, that people really just like me and the merits of my music and all that, I guess that is the case because I don't have the looks. So anyway, I'm going to grab a sip of my coffee here. Hang on one second. Yep. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, coffee. Oh, the greatest drink in the world, especially when you do a lot of talking and a lot of singing. It feels good on your throat. It feels good on mine anyway. I guess on another note, I can talk about this part of my songwriting process that you may or may not be able to relate to, depending on what you make. If you make music or art or videos, whatever you make. I have this situation sometimes that pops up where I'll start with a song idea, and I'm happy with what I have, like a real simple kind of idea. Like I sit down with a guitar and a microphone and I just start messing around, and I'll come up with something like a chord progression I like, and I'll start scatting some vocals over it, and I'll come up with something I like, and then I go back later and I edit and I re-record things and I come up with new ideas, and I'll get it to like a pretty good point, and then I start to ask the what if question, and I start to change and change and change, and this gets changed to this, and the beats per minute changes, and the guitar changes, and distorted or clean guitar, or I just start going off, right? I start adding and subtracting and changing it. And then I get to this finished result that I'm not so happy with. Okay. It didn't go as well as I thought it might. I asked the what if question. I went down that path, and then I hit a dead end, and I'm like, oh, this sounds terrible. And I go right back to the original idea, and it sounds so much better. Like I wasted all of that time, trying to chase this better idea or this better version of this song. And then, days later, I realized, man, this sucks. This is terrible, and I wind up going right back to the original version. And that happened to me just this past week. I did all this work on this song. Actually, it's a new version of the song Ignite to Light from the album Escons, the PC1 version, which is acoustic guitar based, a little bit easier on the ears, not as heavy and abrasive and loud. It's kind of subdued and quiet, but it's not ambient. It's just a song. It's just a song, a songy song, guitar and vocals or something. And the original version that I had released, that I did back in 2017, the acoustic guitar version of this song, Ignite to Light, I just wasn't happy with it. I wasn't happy with it when I did it. I wasn't happy with it when I released it. And I'm even more unhappy with it now. Of all the songs on that album, the PC1 Escons album, 12 songs, there's this one song that just rubbed my rhubarb. It just didn't work. So I kind of told myself, before I released the PC1 Escons album officially on CD, which is coming up in the near future, that I would redo Ignite to Light. Now, at the time, I was writing the original idea. I did have two different versions of the same song. One of them was a little more slow. I guess I was kind of thinking like a Jack Johnson kind of song, if you're familiar with him, like on the beach at night with your friends having a barbecue. Like, what kind of music would you want to hear? Bam, that's what I was going for. Ignite to Light, this kind of chilled out, easy kind of thing. And like I said, I was unhappy with it, but this other version was a little more up-tempo, a little closer to the original version of it, which is heavy and compelling and all that. So, like I said, I told myself before I released the PC1 Escons album, I'm going to go back and redo that song. So I started to do that. I loaded the session in, started to change it, and started to work on it. And I got it to a place where it was good. Thought it was pretty good. And then I started asking what if, and I started to go down that path. And I had to revert right back, a few days later, a few days of wasted time. But I'm not sure if it's actually wasted time. I shouldn't say that. Okay, it's not a waste of time to experiment and then have the experiment fail. Okay, but it is a bit frustrating sometimes because time is of the essence here. I have a lot of stuff to do. I don't have a lot of time to really waste on bad ideas. So, here I am now, right back to the original version that I had. Before I added all the bells and whistles. And you know what? It sounds better. And sometimes that's the way it goes. It's kind of like, in some ways, when you do a painting, okay? Like, you get inspired to do a painting, and then you start to go with it. Like, you start to go with the idea, and it's just going great. Like, you just can't make a mistake. But then all of a sudden, you do make a mistake. And what I've learned, over the course of my lifetime is that when that happens, when you're working on something creative and it's going great, and then all of a sudden you make one false move, it's best to not try to fix it, not overcompensate, not double down, but to walk away. And let me tell you, folks, that is invaluable advice for you if you've never encountered that yourself. But I would imagine at this point, most of the people who are listening can relate to what I'm talking about. Like, it's better when you're creating something and you make an error, it's better to stop. Like, don't overcompensate. Don't try to fix it. Stop, rinse your brushes off, wash your hands and go do something else, and then come back to it later with fresh eyes and a fresh perspective. And oh my gosh, the pieces of art and music that I've destroyed over the course of my lifetime by not heeding that advice, by really trying to fix the mistake. It's from my experience, don't do it. Don't do it. It's tempting. You want to fix it. Just walk away, Do you know what I mean? So here I am with this updated version, a better version of Ignite to Light. I can live with it. I'm happy with it. Hopefully you will be too. You'll be seeing a video for it shortly. So just hang on. I'm in the midst of conjuring up some kind of visuals for this song. And hopefully you'll like it. So stay tuned for that, and stay tuned for another heavy one coming down the pike. I got it done. It's in the can. I'm just waiting for the right day to release it. So you'll get a soft song and a heavy song at the same time, like I've explained in previous podcasts. And until then, have a good week. Take good care of yourselves. Try to have some fun. Try to enjoy your work. And, if you do enjoy your work, try to get better at it, right? Try to improve and learn more and become even better at what you're doing, right? Because that's the point. The point really isn't the money, right? It's like if you have a job, you do work where you would do it for free, you just happen to get paid for it. Amen. Kudos. That's the goal. That's as far as I'm concerned anyway, that's the key to a happy life. And you know what? That's the truth. So until next time, folks, this is Mike Bostwick from Pipe Choir Records signing off. And remember, folks, if you want to keep what you've got to give it away. Take it easy. Hey there, happies. You ready for some music today to close out this Singularity Podcast? Because I got a song for you today. It's a normal song, short song. It was released under the name PC1 a few years back. It's a song called Only All. And it's a song I liked a lot, even when I recorded it. I knew that it was going to be one that I would listen to for years to come, and it is. It's one of the songs I like. I also did a version of this song live. There's a video for it on my YouTube channel, Pipe Choir Only All live ones. I did a handful of select songs of mine live in my studio and on camera, so you can watch me sing it if you want. But anyway, so here it is, folks, from the PC1 Wilderness album, originally, a song called Only All. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you have a good week, everybody, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.